How to make chickpeas taste good. Because let's be honest, the canned stuff, meh, it's just okay. But if you make it right, it is buttery, creamy, and delicious, and I wanna show you how it's done. You'll first start by buying a bag of dried chickpeas. Honestly, they are 1/4 of the price of canned chickpeas, so it's worth it just for the savings. Then you'll soak the chickpeas overnight, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. I added 2 pounds of chickpeas, and so this is about 12 cups of water. Now here is the secret ingredient. So this is baking soda, and you'll add about a teaspoon of baking soda to make it super soft. And then this will soak overnight. If you don't want to soak your chickpeas overnight, or if you don't have time to soak them overnight, instead you can just place this in a pan over the stove on high until it boils, and then turn it off and let it soak for 1 hour in boiling hot water. Otherwise, I'm just gonna let this sit overnight. Now it's time for bed. It is the morning. You can see that the chickpeas have soaked overnight and have gotten a lot bigger. And luckily I had just the perfect amount of water. They all stayed underwater. I'm gonna rinse these and then add them to my Instant Pot. To minimize gas and bloating, it's important that you do not cook your chickpeas in the water that you have been soaking them in. I'm just gonna rinse these out. Now you'll want to add just enough water to cover the chickpeas about 2 inches. So I don't even measure it. It's just enough water to cover the chickpeas and then a little bit above. This is optional, but I also like to add just a little bit of dried kombu. I just do it to help to minimize the gas and bloating. Any type of seaweed works. So whatever seaweed you happen to have on hand, that will work. This is 2 pounds of chickpeas, so I'm adding a tablespoon of salt. If you have just 1 pound, you would do half of a tablespoon. I know it sounds like a lot, but I will be rinsing this water afterwards, but this is what's gonna give the chickpeas the flavor. And the secret ingredient, yet again, is to add a little bit of baking soda. I'm just gonna add about half of a teaspoon here, and this is gonna help really soften those chickpeas. And it's time to cook. Because I already soaked the chickpeas, I only need to cook them in my pressure cooker for 17 minutes. If I did not soak the chickpeas overnight, I would need to cook these for at least 40 minutes in the Instant Pot. And just to be clear, any type of pressure cooker works. It doesn't need to be an Instant Pot brand. If you don't have an Instant Pot or pressure cooker, you can easily cook those chickpeas over the stove. You just boil them for about 90 minutes. And that's only after you've soaked them overnight. Chickpeas are done. I'm just letting it release that extra little bit of pressure, and then we'll open it up. Ooh, look at that. Yum, yum. We'll take out the kombu. Some people use this in different recipes, so you can always save it. Adds a lot of flavor if it works with the recipe you're making. We're gonna rinse and drain all these chickpeas, so get rid of all that water. If these chickpeas are too soft for your liking, just omit all of the baking soda. The baking soda is what really brings it over the top. So if you're cooking chickpeas, you don't even have time to soak them, but want them really soft, add the baking soda. If you're soaking them and don't want them as mushy and soft as these are, then omit it. It's just a really good trick to have in your back pocket when you need it. Let's make hummus with these really soft chickpeas, and we'll do it in our blender. So you'll add about 2.5 cups of chickpeas, which is about the same amount as a typical can of chickpeas. Next, we'll add the juice of a lemon, and then 1/4 of a cup of tahini. And we'll add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I prefer garlic powder over fresh garlic. I just think it tastes a little better, but you can choose if you want up to 4 cloves of garlic, fresh minced garlic instead. Then 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we'll mix all of this together in our blender just on low until it's nice and smooth. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit higher and then a little bit more. It gets so much more smooth in a blender than a food processor, so it's also a great tip. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of water to help it blend a little bit more easily, just so we can get it even smoother. Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I'm gonna taste it. Wow, that is good. That is really good. Now we'll store this hummus in the fridge. It lasts up to 7 days. Honestly, sometimes even longer. Next, we'll air fry some of these chickpeas, so just place them out on your pan, make sure that they're not overlapping as much as possible. And then I love just using this reduced seasoning salt. It's a light version of seasoning salt, and we'll just sprinkle it around, and then we'll place in the air fryer. And I'll bake them at 400 for 10 minutes and check on them. They might have to cook for longer than that, so I'll just check on them. Okay, it has been 10 minutes and they're just not quite there yet, so you just kind of shake it up and then we'll put it back in. Sometimes I put even the crunchy pieces, like the ones in the corner, into the middle, and then the ones in the middle that are soft into the corners. But however it's easiest for you, it will be about 10 more minutes before they're done. All right, chickpeas are done, perfectly crisp. You can see on the edge, they got even more crisp, super yummy. Do you hear that crunch? Hey, real quick, if you love trying new vegan, whole food, plant-based recipes, make sure to click on the link below so I can send you a free whole 1 week vegan, whole food, plant-based meal guide. It has the shopping list and everything you need. Check it out. Now let's make the most delicious pasta sauce you'll ever try. You wouldn't believe it's made from chickpeas. You'll love this recipe if you enjoy sun-dried tomatoes like I do. You'll start by boiling your favorite noodles. While the pasta is cooking, we'll water saute an onion. And we'll add 2 cloves of garlic to the onions. Then here is the best part. We'll add 7 sun-dried tomatoes just to kind of warm them up. We're gonna add all of this to our blender in just a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You'll save the rest to chop up in little pieces and put on top to garnish. We'll mix everything together until the onions are translucent, which is about where they are right now. And then we will add all of this to our blender. Now, I did not clean out my blender because I knew I was gonna add the hummus right back in. So it is 1 full cup of hummus. Then you'll take a half of a cup of that pasta water without the pasta in there. And you'll add that to the blender to help mix everything into the sauce. Then we'll add the onions and the sun-dried tomatoes. And we'll blend this into a delicious sauce. Also want to add about a half a teaspoon of salt and then blend it again. You could add more to your taste. We're gonna use this cool new drainer where it just clips on the edge of your pan and then you can just empty it out. And we'll add the hummus sun-dried tomato pasta sauce to the pasta. This is a really not as flavorful as you think it would be. This is a really great kids meal. And then you can add the sun-dried tomatoes on top for you and the kids can just have more of a neutral meal. It's a really great kid-friendly option to feed a crowd. Next, you'll sprinkle some red pepper flakes and I'm just gonna add the tiniest bit amount because I know if I add too many, my kids won't eat this. Then you'll chop the rest of the sun-dried tomatoes from your jar, which is about anywhere between 7 to 10 sun-dried tomatoes and mix it in. Now this is how you make chickpeas taste good. Now the taste test for the sun-dried tomato hummus pasta. It's simple, it's good. You can add more sun-dried tomatoes for your liking. You can add more hot pepper flakes. The chickpeas on top are optional, but also really yummy. This is really good. This next chickpea recipe comes from France, and they know how to make chickpeas taste good, and it's so simple. Let me show you how. You'll take 2.5 cups of chickpeas, which is about the same amount in 1 can, and then add the juice of 1 lemon. Next, you'll chop up about 1/4 of a red onion. You want it diced really small. Next, you'll add a heaping teaspoon of oregano and then half of a teaspoon of salt. And the final ingredient is a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. We're gonna add that in and just mix everything together. Now in France, they do add olive oil as well, but it is not necessary, so I'm not adding it, but you can if you like olive oil. I'm actually gonna add a little bit more oregano, so it'll be closer to 2 teaspoons, just because I love it. And then you just eat this like a salad. It's so yummy. Now this recipe is from my friend who lived in France for 2 years, and he learned it from an old lady who taught it to him, and it is a go-to ever since. Now I've served this with Buddha bowls or rice bowls. I've served this just with rice. I've served this in so many different ways. If I need to bring something to a potluck, it's really yummy on potatoes. There's so many different options. I absolutely love it. It's so fresh and so good. This is how chickpeas taste good. I could just snack on this all day. Another really easy way to make chickpeas taste good is to simply add chocolate. And these little guys are home from school and are going to help me put it together.
Let's go!
All right, we'll first take 3/4 a cup of chocolate chips to a bowl. Next, we'll add a spoonful of peanut butter. And we'll put it in the microwave for 1 minute.
Yeah.
On all 3, push start. Good job, 1 minute. Now it just came out of the microwave and you can mix it up. Okay, so here's the cool thing. Now we're gonna add the chickpeas to my blender and then add the melted chocolate with the peanut butter. Then we'll add 1/2 cup of soy milk to the mixture. Oh, there's a leg. Okay, let's blend it. Does it taste like peanut butter? All right, the boys requested that I add a little bit more sugar, so we're gonna add just a little bit of maple syrup. There we go. Yum. Now you can serve this immediately, or if you put it in the fridge, it will thicken over time and make for a really yummy chocolate mousse. Oh goodness, that's messy. We're gonna need to give you a bath after.
So dirty.
This is definitely more like a dessert than a snack, but it's really yummy to have in the fridge, just to take a spoonful now and then. If you like this chickpea video, then make sure to check out my other video on how to make tofu taste good. That's my water.
Hey, I want that water.